Hey, welcome back, folks. This is U.S. Home Talk. Good afternoon. It's noon Central Time. We are back for another great show. Jason Walgrave here with Walgrave Real Estate Group and the Minnesota Real Estate Team. We've got Mortgage Michael Overson. We've got Marcus Walgrave with Hague Realtors out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the Sioux Empire real estate market. We've got our great producer, Evan Little, who's having... Oh, cameras are working. Look at that. Man, he's on it today. We're going to have a great show. It's like a heat wave. It's almost 50 degrees warmer today than it was yesterday. Yesterday, like negative 18. Today, 30. I did see some pictures of snow in Florida and South Carolina and
New Orleans.
New Orleans got like 8 inches.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
Like,
so
what?
there's a super cool picture of
wild.
somebody walking down the main street or whatever the name of the strip is. And
Bourbon Street.
It was like,
Bourbon
hey,
Street.
that's cool. Yep. Bourbon Street. Yep. Yeah, it was a really cool image. So
I saw a picture of, I think it was South Carolina, the beach, white, not sandy white, snow white. So that was pretty wild. It's kind of crazy. So it's nice to have a little warmer weather up here. I'll tell you what, guys, excited about today's show. We're going to be talking, this comes out of the National Association of Realtors Consumer Guide to Home Inspections. We're going to be talking about that. I feel like spring market is here. We are third week in January. There's a ton of activity. We got a lot going on. We got a lot of buyers coming in. We're doing buyer consultations. Mike is just flying through the applications on every 15 minutes application coming in. Yep. And we got sellers ready to put their homes on the market, buy something else. So I'm really excited about real estate in 2025. I think it's going to be a fantastic year. I think it's going to be a fantastic year economically in the U.S. and I'm really looking forward to this year and feels good. The air feels different. So there's a lot of positivity and I'm really excited about 2025. So
I mean,
folks,
the air certainly does feel different when it's 15 below. I'll tell you that. I agree.
You know, when it's negative 18 and that's without the windshield, when the temp is negative 18 and you go outside and you're like, I mean, it hits you. It hits you. Give you
freezes your nose hairs instantly. Instant freeze. I had to teach my boys. I got 8 and 5-year-old boy where we spent the weekend in the ice house. So we were on a lake in the ice house. Saturday, Sunday, sleeping overnight in that thing in this.
You slept overnight?
Cold. Yeah, slept overnight fun. 2 nights in a row in that ice house, brutally cold, right? And when we hooked it back up to come back home, I had to teach them. I'm like, boys, just remember when it's this cold, nothing works right? Because I had a light popping up on my dash saying that the trailer became disconnected, right, or the trailer brake wasn't working or something like that. Well, there's no trailer brake on it, right? It's just so cold that the electronics weren't working right. And they're like, Dad, what's the light for? And I'm like, well, it's
confused.
Just, yeah, right? And it didn't work. I'm like, boys, one thing to remember, when it's this cold, nothing works right. No. Not even us.
No, definitely not us. No,
I always get a kick out of it when you get out of the car, like you said, you kind of take that breath and it stings a little. And I heard the other day, because I was in and out of appointments, coming in and out of businesses, and it was like the universal sound that everybody made was ooh, 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 ooh. Yeah. So it bites when it gets into that negative 15 plus, or I guess minus, negative 15.
15 minus.
Yeah. No plus. Well, just minus.
minus. Double negatives.
I love it. All right, folks, best way to get a hold of us, of course, is our fantastic website, ushometalk.com. You can connect directly with Marcus, Mike, myself, Evan, all of our fantastic US Home Talk partners. Really, anything, everything real estate related. We've got somebody on there to help out with all of your needs. We've got a real estate hotline number that during the show you can text in your questions. It's 612-234-7585. That is the text line during the show. Anything related to real estate, we'll take all your questions. And then that number is our 24-hour real estate hotline number. So you can call that, text that number at any time. Connect with any one of us or our fantastic partners. Our website, again, ushometalk.com. We've got all of our previous shows. We've got some great tools on there, some home search tools. Get pre-approved with Mike Overson. Some great reports on all things real estate. So be sure to check us out on our website, ushometalk.com. Majority of our fans, if you will, are catching the show later in the week, whether it's on one of the streaming platforms, Spotify, iTunes. We're on all of the major streaming platforms. So we do appreciate whenever it is you tune in, and we love doing the show and bringing in good information. And also, if there's a topic, guys, if there's a topic that you want to know more about or you want us to discuss on the show, just shoot us a message and say, hey guys, I want to know more about asbestos. I want to know more about asbestos.
Yes.
Or whatever it is.
Formaldehyde. And
Formaldehyde. Nothing's off limits on this show. Preferably real estate related, but I'll tell you what. If you've got any fishing questions, Marcus and Mike can probably answer those for you too.
Or parenting tips, maybe. Some parenting tips.
We got some kids between us. I mean, between the three of us, we've got, what is that? 13 kids. Yeah,
gets a couple.
Yeah,
that's a few. That's a few. So we might have some parenting advice. I think most of it's good. Oh, where'd you get that
nice.
at?
That was a big old sow right there.
Wow,
That's me.
Where'd you catch that at?
Lake Nunya, Jason.
None
Lake
your business. Why don't you just go ahead and put the GPS coordinates in the chat there so we can share that with our audience?
That's what I do too. So we catch a fair amount of big fish here. As long as Marcus is sharing, I can certainly bring something up here. But that's whenever I post something on Facebook, it's like, oh, where'd you catch that one? I'm like, Lake Nunya. Can you see that bad boy right there?
Ooh, the muskie.
Now that does not look like a winter picture. I'm just throwing it out there.
No, that was definitely not a winter picture, but that's okay. Yeah, Marcus, good call there. You don't give your secrets away like that.
No,
you just don't.
No.
What secret?
Our brother Brad, he has disabled the, on photos it'll do like a stamp of the location where the photos was taken. He's disabled all of those on his photos, so when he sends a photo, there's no way to track where that photo was taken. So I mean, this fishing stuff is serious. You gotta protect the secret fishing spots.
And you really don't.
No.
That's the comical part. You really don't need to. Nobody's gonna catch the fish that you think that you're catching. So
no, probably not. All right, folks. Home inspections, right? I think that they're great. We recommend home inspections in most cases. And today I read this great article from National Association of Realtors. It's a consumer guide to home inspections. First question is what is a home inspection? Marcus, what is a home inspection?
Well, a home inspection, or can be more general, a property inspection, because it's not just for homes. We can inspect investment properties, commercial properties, offices, etc. But property inspection, home inspection, it is an unbiased professional opinion of the overall condition of a property. Kind of focuses on the exterior and the interior of the structure. Rarely, I've never seen anyone that have done like plumbing from, the structure to the street. So it is kind of confined within the structure itself. And then also some notes on the lot. What kind of grade do we have? Landscaping, vegetation issues or concerns, things of that nature. So, but the most important thing is it's a unbiased third party and it's done by a professional.
Yeah, and home inspections are typically scheduled for a 4-hour period for your typical size house. When I say typical size, you're probably looking at between 2,500 and 3,000 finished square feet. And that inspector, he's going to go in the attic and he's going to look at the furnace and the AC and the appliances. He's going to look at the plumbing fixtures. He's going to look at the toilets, and it's really a good inspector. Marcus, I know you've got a great inspector. He's been on the show before. We've got a really great inspector that we use as well, and he provides it's a 25 to 35 page report, includes photos. It goes through all the details of what he found, and it is. I think it's important. For buyers, you're spending a lot of money, and you're buying, one of the largest assets of your life. Inspections are, that peace of mind that I think you want before moving forward with the purchase. Second part of this consumer guide is, are home inspections required? I think there's 2 points to that. Some cities require a pre-listing or home inspection or truth in sale or report. So some cities require a home inspection. That's something that the seller pays for. It's similar to a buyer home inspection, but the city comes in and they do their inspection, and then they give you a whole list of things that may need to be fixed either by the owner or by the buyer when they take possession of the property. And then you've got your buyer's home inspection, where a buyer, they have a property that they've gotten under contract. There's likely an inspection period in there if it's contingent on inspection. Probably averages around 7 days. And then the buyer has to pay for that inspection. And the inspection period generally gives the buyer an opportunity to negotiate any potential repairs, or back out of the deal. So home inspections, the buyer home inspections, are not required. They're in most cases a great idea. Some cases where we have clients that choose not to do an inspection is maybe we're in multiple offers, and maybe that's what they wanted to do to make their offer better than the other ones. We just had a listing that sold yesterday, multiple offers, and that listing, the winning offer was not the highest dollar amount, but it didn't have an inspection. The seller's not aware of any issues with the house, but it is a older home. It's 100 years plus. And so, and they've lived there, 50 plus years, right? And so, although they're not aware of any major issues, the idea of not having an inspection and just moving right into a pending state was worth, giving up some dollars. And so, it's not required, but, we get the question all the time, do you recommend home inspection? The answer that we give is yes, we do recommend it. Then if we're in multiple offers, we talk about what that means if you have that in the offer. So, not required, but go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Not required, but recommended in almost all cases.
So I'm just putting a different hat on, right? So if I'm a buyer, be like, well, if the seller is looking to field an offer with no home inspection, like, what are they trying to hide? You know what I mean? Like, that's like the mentality that some buyers might have. Well, if the house is in good condition, then they should have nothing to hide. They should be fine with getting a home inspection.
Yes.
And then what would you say to that, to a buyer that has that type of feedback on it?
Well, I think that's an accurate thought, right? And because that's what comes to my mind too. But if there's multiple offers on the table, the seller wants to take the offer that is most likely to close under those original offer terms. And an inspection gives that buyer a window to renegotiate the deal, to ask for, repair items or replacement items, or so it's, I think that without the inspection, a seller, the deal is more likely to occur as it's written. And I think we have some buyers, if they're buying new construction, a lot of times they don't do the inspection. If it's a brand new home, that home has been inspected, half a dozen plus times throughout the building process. There's a punch list. There's, a 1-2-10 warranty. And so, a lot of times in new construction, buyers won't do the inspection. But I've never met a builder that didn't let the buyer do the inspection, or even on new construction, we're like, yeah, go ahead. And so, it is, multiple offers changes everything, but most sellers in today's market, if it's not multiple offers, they're going to expect an inspection, and they're probably going to agree to it.
One other thing to point out too. Oh, go ahead.
if I could jump in there real quick, sellers aren't coming out there and saying, buyers, we want offers without inspection contingencies. I think it kind of falls more into the example of Jason's example of multiple offers. If you're in a multiple offer as a buyer and you want your offer to look most attractive to a seller, and you have the means to possibly cover some unknown costs because you're going to bypass the property inspection contingency, that is a really good tactic to make your offer look super attractive. But I haven't come across a seller who said, hey, I want you to go out and publicly market that I want offers without contingencies, because then that would kind of feel like, the what are you maybe trying to hide or something of that nature. But really good tool for buyers and a property inspection. And I apologize, Jason, if this is going to be discussed later, but it's not just for buyers and sellers, it's for homeowners too. So for that example of a buyer who's going to not have it contingent on their offer as a contingency, it doesn't mean that they won't want to have it done after they move in. Because I don't know about you, Jason, but I'm not going in an attic or on top of a roof.
Right.
And so, it is nice to still have that done even for homeowners.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of times we advise the main purpose of an inspection is to determine any major issues with the house. I mean, that's what we're looking. That's the main reason. However, it's really nice if you're a buyer and you have the full list of all the little things that are wrong with the house, because then after you take possession of the property and you close on it, you can fix those little things. Maybe it's a seal here, or it's a seal there, or or there's a little bit of grading that needs to be adjusted, or there's a gutter that needs to be readjusted, or whatever the case is. So it's nice to have that full list of additional smaller items, so that you can tackle them, because you want to maintain your home. And if there's little things that you can do now that prevent big dollar repair items in the future, you're going to do that.
Yeah, another thing too that an inspector is going to do is they're going to point out the safety things for code.
Yes.
Fire. They're going to look at the smoke alarms. Do they work? Is there a smoke alarm in every room? Are there carbon monoxide detectors? Yep. Right? What's the code for that? What's the current code? They know what the current code is. And they'll point that stuff out. It's like, hey, this house, the smoke detector on the second level, this one bedroom over here doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. And they'll point stuff out, that type of stuff out. They're looking for GFCI outlets, around sinks, and wherever there's water. So things like that, all the mechanicals, right? The furnace and the air conditioner and all that stuff. They look at all that too. So it is a nice report to get, because like you guys mentioned, if there's just some little things here and there, some stuff that needs to be done, that's usually not a deal killer, but it is kind of nice to have that little checklist. So once you move in, It's like, hey, I'm going to go down this checklist. I'm going to just knock out some of these little things myself, just so you're up to speed on everything.
We have some sellers that they want to make the process move quicker, and so they'll do a home inspection before we go on the market. And then they'll get their, the full list of, items, and they'll go through and they'll make all those corrections or repairs, and then have the inspection updated after all those things are fixed, right? And so, we have a lot of sellers that we work with, and they really want to deliver to the new buyer their home in the best condition possible. And so, a pre-inspection can be a great tool to identify some repairs that are needed. You take care of them, and now you're marketing and presenting a home that already has the inspection done, and there were some items and they already fixed them. So that can give buyers confidence as well. Doesn't mean the buyer's not still going to want to do their own, but it can give peace of mind, especially if you're in multiple offers and the buyer's like, nah, I don't want to make a contingent inspection. I want the house, and so a pre-listing inspection can be helpful. We're talking about consumer guidance home inspections. Who performs the home inspection? Members of the American Society of Home Inspectors, ASHI, or the International Association of Certified Home Inspectors. They're trained and certified to do home inspections. Now, the reality is, folks, anybody can do the home inspection. in there, in the state of Minnesota, there are not license requirements to be a home inspector. So
Interesting.
and so I've had buyers that they want a home inspection, they want a contingent on inspection, but they don't go and hire an inspector. Maybe they're a contractor themselves. And they're like, look, I need to inspect it myself. Or maybe they have a relative or they have a friend that's a contractor or a handyman. And so you're not required to have your home inspected by a certified inspector. Really, anybody can do it. I think certification is important. If I'm going to pay for an inspection, I want it to be done by somebody that A, is certified, and B, has a lot of experience inspecting homes.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it's kind of like there's no requirements, right, out there. And not everyone, I mean, take any industry, right? Why does LeBron James get paid more to play basketball than the guy at the end of the bench, right? They're both professional basketball players. They're both in the NBA, right? One's just better at his job than the other one. That's why he gets paid more. Same thing can go with home inspections. It's like, there's no requirements on there. So how do you vet? How do you vet if the person that you're hiring is qualified? You know what I mean? It's you never know what you're going to get on the other end, and so that's where there are certifications they can get. Home inspectors can, so they can be certified, and then really it's looking at how much experience they have. Right? That's really the thing. If you're getting a referral from your real estate agent that this home inspector is good, then you can rely on that information. And feel confident in that person, because that real estate agent wouldn't refer someone who's, at the end of the bench, if you will.
Right.
Now, just to jump in, and for you listeners out there, make sure you are familiar with what the rules are in your specific market. Jason, you mentioned that anybody can do one up in the in your market, the Twin Cities. That's not the case in the Sioux Falls, the Sioux Empire. As our purchase contract states, any professional inspection performed by a registered, licensed inspector or certified professional, that is the criteria of it. So if it is something to where you want to have like a contractor look into it, that would need to go on a separate section of our purchase contract to simply state that our offer is contingent upon a contractor inspection.
Sure.
So we have to specify in our market if it is going to be somebody who is not necessarily a registered and licensed inspector.
Yeah, great point, Marcus. Who is responsible for the inspection costs? So again, it depends on what type of inspection. If it's a city-required inspection before you list the home, the seller is going to pay for that. Generally speaking, buyers pay for the inspections at the time of inspection. It's all negotiable, of course. I mean, you can certainly negotiate that in the deal, but I don't recall any of our sellers having to pay for a buyer's home inspection. So
you've done a couple deals, Jason.
3 in the last 10 years for sure. I know I've done. So, so most of the time it's a buyer's responsibility, and that is paid at the time of the inspection. Who can attend the inspection? So, or can the buyer attend the inspection is a better question. Yes, the answer to that is yes. Generally, what we see is if it's a 4-hour inspection period, inspector's going to go out there for the first 3 hours, do the whole inspection with nobody there. Hopefully not the seller either. He can focus and get it done. And then buyer's welcome to join the inspector at the last hour and go through the findings. That can be really helpful. I think that's a great practice, especially for first-time home buyers, because the inspector will go through things like, okay, here's the furnace filter, and kind of talk about maintenance items that you need to be aware of when you own a home. And so those can be super helpful. I remember, just starting in real estate and as an agent, I attended a lot of the inspections my first couple years in the business. And for me, it was incredibly valuable. I learned a ton, about homes. And so, yes, buyers can attend and agents can attend, but it's generally at the end of that inspection. How long does a home inspection take? We just talked about that. It's typically a 4-hour period that's blocked off. I'd say most of them take 2 or 3 hours, and then you've got the findings to go over with the buyer after that. But obviously, bigger the house, bigger the lot, more outbuildings. I mean, whether it's commercial, that will increase that time.
I will say,
you're good.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I will say, if you hired a home inspector and that home inspector is in and out in an hour, you got the wrong person.
So
it better be a tiny property.
I mean, that thing better be an ice house size property,
yes.
right? Yeah.
I would agree with that, Mike. However, I'll throw in a however on this deal. Back in 21 and 22, when we were just hammered with multiple offers on so many of the properties, there were some inspectors out there that were offering basically a modified,
light,
like inspection. An a la carte.
Like we're gonna just do a quick look for major inspection, and those guys were in and out in an hour, and we
roof
some of
mechanicals and we're out.
Yep. And we had a few inspectors that we worked with, and they were same day, and so we property comes on the market in the morning. We get an offer accepted by noon. We got the inspector in there at 2:00 in the afternoon, and we're done by 5:00. And so that can give, if you can do that, it's great, because now you don't have to worry about any major items. But generally they're taking a little longer.
Yeah, your standard, right? Your standard formal home inspection, right, is a 2 to 4 hour type of process, depending on how many mechanicals you got. Like, there was a mansion on Minnetonka that I did a loan on. They had 3 air conditioners, right? 2 furnaces. I'm just a big house and the different zones and this and that, right? That was an 8-hour inspection. The inspector was out there the entire day, right? Wow. 7,000 square feet, that type of deal.
Probably at least, right, Mike? Could have even been close into 10,000 if it was a real big home.
Yeah, it was real big. But if you hired an inspector and you got your full-on inspection, like the regular formal inspection, and that guy's or a woman is in and out in an hour, you did not get what you paid for in that. If you're ordering a light inspection because you got a time restraint, and it's like, look, I only care about major stuff, so just do these items and at a reduced cost, reduced time, just to get a feel for it, that's fine. But if you're ordering a regular inspection and they're there for an hour, you might want to relook at that.
Yes,
or it better been cheap.
Yeah,
right.
$20.
20
that brings up another question. What do inspections typically cost? They're probably averaging around $500. And again, the bigger the house, the more expensive those would be. But guys, like $500 for peace of mind. And if you're buying a $300,000, $400,000, $600,000 property, I think it's a good deal, and it gives you that peace of mind. We talked about
there's some additional features you can add to a property inspection, right, Jason? I mean, we're kind of talking $500 for the basic structural interior, exterior, but if you want to test for radon, or if you want to test for wood destroying insects, if you want them to go sewer scope, chimney scope, so there's a lot of additional things that you can have an inspector test for, and those obviously, any additional service that they're providing is going to probably add an extra $75 or $100 to that. So, but for the most part, $500 plus tax is right where you're going to land.
Yeah, Marcus, that's a great point. I mean, if you're buying a house that's 80 years old and it's got a chimney, and it's got you might want to have that chimney inspected, especially if it's one that's in use still. You might want to have the drain scoped out to the street to make sure that the tree roots haven't destroyed them. And so great point. Depending on the house and the age of it, and you may want to add on some additional inspection items to be protected.
Do you guys probably remember radon? Like, radon, when I first got in the business, was not a big deal. It was so rare that someone would order a radon as part of their add-on to their home inspection, and now it's almost on every deal, I would imagine. It makes up a high percentage. It seems like the sewer scoping is like the new radon, right? It seems like more and more home inspections are adding that sewer scope onto it, and that's like the latest craze, if you will, right? We're seeing sewer scopes done way, way more these days than previous.
Yeah, that's a great point. And the older the home, the more likely you're going to have the sewer scoping done. And that's something to, as far as an insurance topic is, what's covered. Is the the plumbing out to the street covered or what?
Yeah.
And so because I've had sellers that they had to replace the main line from the street to their house. I had one seller, it was not covered. Cost her about $15,000. I had another seller, and it was covered by her insurance, and then she just had to pay the deductible. So, some things to maybe ask your insurance guy.
It's an endorsement for most carriers that to get service line coverage, which generally is what you need, is a separate thing from the regular policy.
Yep, there you go.
And Evan, that's kind of like the sump pump as well, right? Like a sump pump basement, that's an endorsement.
Yeah, so that's a different endorsement. That's water backup coverage. But lines external to the home are not generally covered by a standard homeowner's policy, an ISO Form 3. So there are endorsements available for most carriers. They do generally have a limitation of like $10,000 to $20,000 depending on the carrier. And to dig up like that, depending on where you're at, can cost a lot more, honestly. I have seen as high as $45,000 in the Twin Cities. Yeah. Oof. Rough.
And from my understanding too, a lot of it is kind of that. Obviously the big cost is going to be the excavator, right? The heavy machinery cost. But then if you do have to get into the street and you are tearing up sidewalk, curb, street, I know that a big chunk of that bill is going towards bringing that back to its original condition. So. Spending.
Yeah, or if your house just has a big setback, so your line is longer than usual, or things like that. Yeah. There's always unforeseen circumstances you're working around. Oh, there's a gas line too close here, so now we need the gas company to come out and turn off the gas line, and yada, 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 yada. Yeah. So, yeah, fun stuff.
Folks, talking about Consumer Guide to Home Inspections, last on our list to talk about is, what does it mean if a house is listed as is? Seller is selling as is. When do you see this? A lot of times you'll see it in estates, or maybe an investment property. Does that mean that you can't have a home inspection? No, it does not mean that. It just means that once you're through the inspection period and you close on that house, you are agreeing to buy it in the condition that it is in, and there's no recourse to the seller. So. We don't see it very often. I mean, it's, most homes don't have an as-is addendum tied to it. But I think what's important to realize is even if it's being marketed as is, doesn't mean that you can't have a home inspection, doesn't mean that it can't be contingent on the home inspection, doesn't mean you can't ask for something from the results of the home inspection. Now, the seller's kind of sending out that message up front that, hey, here it is. It is what it is. You're going to ask, but the answer is no. But it doesn't mean
the bar has been set.
The bar has been set. We priced it accordingly. But again, doesn't mean that you can't ask, and doesn't mean you can't do the inspection. So, folks, we can send this information out to you. If you go to our website, ushometalk.com, shoot us over a message. We can send you the full article on Consumer Guide Home Inspections. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. I think everyone's going to be a little bit warmer now the rest of the week. And we look forward to coming back next week and seeing you guys. Actually, I won't be here next week. Mike and Marcus and Evan will have to handle the show. Liz and I are going to be in Puerto Vallarta. So I'll be thinking about you guys.
Really
warm.
Hopefully you don't get snow.
Hey guys, hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next.